Test one, two, test. Pineapple. Pineapple. All right, how's it sound?
Perfect.
Perfect pineapple. All right. Ready when you are, sir.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Right.
If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the President of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
All right, before we begin this, guys, welcome Jesse, first of all. And I just want to say that we have to be careful how I say this, but the algorithm is throttling us.
Yeah, I noticed we got a little hammered on that last one. That was our worst show in 8 months.
Yeah, we've been throttled, and I'm guessing it's for mentioning a certain country doing a certain illegal act. And I think we all know who and what that is.
But I gotta say, we didn't just mention that country. I kind of asserted that they were to blame for a lot.
Yeah.
I was joking, but I mean, I don't know if the algorithm caught that.
But we just need you guys to help us fight the system by liking this video and go back to the previous video, like, comment, and as always, subscribe.
You know, I gotta say too, I've kind of laughed every time conservatives for the past, I don't know, 7 years have talked about being shadow banned and all that. Like, I kind of blow it off. I'm like, you got shadow banned, who cares? But now I think we kind of got shadow banned, and it hurts. So I'm sorry to all the conservatives that complained about this for the past 5-7 years.
Yeah, we just need a little resurgence.
So, Jesse, we're not allowed to talk about any foreign countries tonight. Got it? We're gonna stick with America. You can criticize America in America still, kind of. Don't burn a flag, but you can criticize it.
Hey man, the way it's been, that's the only semi-foreign country I'll be talking about this evening as it is.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the America we all once knew at the moment, right?
No,
Not the
but
one I
things
knew,
are
not the one I
changing.
want it to be.
Yeah.
Things are changing, and Jesse, I wanna ask your opinion on this. How do you feel about making our military sexy again?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's making them sexy or making a bunch of generals in a big room want to, I don't know.
Well, apparently our
Walk back
battleships are going to be sexy again, and our troops are going to be sexy again.
So I want to ask this real quick, Jesse. From what I think I know about the Army, and I'm so glad you're here tonight because I correct me on anything I say that's not right. But the fact that that was the generals, and I don't know what a flag officer is. Real quick, what is a flag officer?
So I might be mistaken, but a flag officer, to my understanding, is kind of a temporary role of anybody who is currently in charge of the flag within a venue or some kind of meeting presence. So
Okay.
you could be a private, and that private could be the flag officer as long as that's the person in charge of carrying the flag.
Okay, because that's what when they announced this meeting last week, they said all generals 1 star and above and flag officers, and I'd never heard that term. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm not adding a lot of the value here, but somebody had referenced a flag officer, and it's slang for something. I've actually never heard the term, and I believe somebody during the meeting started to go into explaining what the definition of that was. But
I got it
Okay.
pulled up here. A flag officer is a senior commissioned officer, typically a Navy officer or admiral or commodore rank, or a general officer in a land or air force who is senior enough to fly a personal flag to denote their authority and position of command.
So someone that has their own flag, I didn't even know we had that in the Army. Is that something you've ever seen, Jesse?
have not.
Okay, well, anyhow, what I think I know about the Army, the fact that it was generals and flag officers, like I'll bet they were very uncomfortable with most of what was going on today, and they probably were shaking their head, not internally shaking their head, going, "Oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this." Had it been like the regular enlisted troops, I think it would have been a different response. I think it would have been like, "Yeah, like we're gonna." Am I wrong on that? That's what I feel.
No, I think you're right. I mean, if you picked up a couple soldiers that have been enlisted through like basic training and maybe their advanced training for a couple months after basic, yes,
That
it'd be a
haven't.
fraternity of people that'd be fucking gun ho, rah rah. Let's kick them in the nuts and inflict our will. Everybody beyond that, there's going to be a very select few that are going to be on board with what was discussed today. And the higher the rank, the more experience, yeah, the more detached from that reality we're going to see.
So
Hmm.
basically, people that have seen the shit, been deployed, had, mortar rounds come into their bunk overnight, like they're not going to be as excited about the thought of us, yeah, warriors, we're going to kick their butt. People that have never really seen it are the ones that are going to be excited. Is that kind of the interpretation?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Docs, I'm going to go into Hegseth here in a minute. You got anything to cover on this?
Um, no, go ahead and go into Hegseth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to break up what happened this morning. And for those who don't know, I got a couple videos. But last week, Hegseth announced he was bringing all the one-star generals and flag officers in for a meeting. I talked to one guy who was former military. He was military his whole life. He grew up in Germany on an Air Force base. His dad was military. His dad was a CIA. He was a Trump voter. It was very interesting to talk to him. His thing was this is unheard of that they're calling all the generals from their posts, from their battlefield or wherever, and he couldn't understand why they would be doing this, and he thought it was dumb. Everybody was kind of worried about, okay, maybe they're going to try to get a loyalty pledge to Trump. Like, what are they going to do here? They didn't do the loyalty pledge, but I will say Trump's part of the speech was about as bad as I think it can get. Hegseth, to me, it seemed like two different tones. Hegseth was trying to like fire people up. We're going to be warriors. We're going to kick butt. He said some problematic things. I don't know if it's problematic or not, but I think women serving in combat roles might be a thing of the past at this point.
Yeah.
Anybody with a medical exception that doesn't have to shave, that you're gone if you can't shave. It seems like I'm probably missing a lot. But real quick,
PT every morning.
oh yeah, oh, and the part where he said that the generals, everybody needs to be able to pass a PT test every 2 years. Like when he was saying it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I saw a picture of all the generals in the crowd, and they were some old dudes, a lot of gray hair in that crowd. And also, Trump is the supreme commander of the Allied or of the American forces. Does he have to pass a PT test? Because I think that's
Yes.
what was said.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold
Let's
my
make
breath
him
on
do
that.
it.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
JD Vance needs to start shaving.
Well, JD Vance isn't he? I believe the vice president doesn't have anything to do with the armed forces. I believe. So he's good for now. If he's run for office, he needs to shave and pass a PT test. So I'm just let's all hold our breath and wait for Trump to do this. But real quick, just to give a taste of Hegseth, I wanted to pull real quick. I wanted to pull one of the parts. He kept like he had like applause breaks. Like he would say a thing that he thought would get an applause, and then he'd wait, and like it'd be uncomfortable silence, and nobody cheered or clapped, and then he would just kind of move on after a second or two. That was funny, but I didn't pull any of that. But here is a little bit of Hegseth from today.
We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader.
He's a good speaker, but he doesn't deserve the position at all.
He doesn't, but there were a couple things there. Like he was talking about no more, the rules of engagement, basically. No more pussy
Geneva
rules
Convention.
of engagement. What's that?
Geneva Convention.
So I saw a lot of people bringing that up. Like our rules of engagement are based off the Geneva Convention, I think. And I've never been in the Army, but Jesse, you don't have to talk much about this if you don't want to, but I know you were part of different convoys in Iraq. Was it Iraq or Afghanistan?
Iraq.
You were in Iraq. And you were part of convoys where you were up on top on like a 50 cal saw and going through villages where people would approach. I'm going to guess you had clear defined rules of engagement there, right?
Correct.
At any point did you feel like, man, the government's really holding me back here from what I need to be doing as a warrior? Did you feel that way at all?
Absolutely not. No, I would say the rules of engagement, certain things that come to mind would be flamethrowers, right? Using napalm, injuring somebody with no intent to kill them, right? Just inflicting pain with no intent to eliminate a target, right? Stuff you do not want to do. If you've got a problem, shoot the target. But we're not trying to sit here and torture people. And it sounds like that's something that they want to alleviate and go back to the old school ways of just, scaring the shit out of people in whatever means necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maximum lethality, I think is what he said. So yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
sounds great. So again, I think that had because Trump spoke at was it West Point or Fort Bragg? He spoke right early in his presidency. He spoke to a bunch of the newly enlisted men, and the crowd was going wild for him, and he was saying this kind of stuff. The generals today didn't seem to be on board with what was being said here. So anyhow, your reactions from the Hegseth part. Do you guys have anything good or bad? My theory is that I think that there's some of the stuff he was kind of accurate on. Jesse, I'll ask you, did you serve with women in forward positions at all when you were in Iraq?
I did, but it is a little bit different, without dominating the conversation. I mean, I just rewatched snippets of the entire speech leading up to this shoot, and so I do agree, right? So I've got a good friend, you know him, he's a firefighter here in Austin, and if I go back about 15 years, uh, the fire department here in Austin wanted to diversify more, and there's nothing wrong with that. Diversity can mean a lot of things, whether it's race, gender, whatever. But when you look at the firefighter that had been serving for a while, and those that had been in for at least, let's say, through their probationary period early on, they all agreed to one thing, and they want the best person for the job that can assist them in the case of an emergency, right? You have a fallen firefighter, 220 pound, 6'2" beast of a man who's wearing 50 pounds of equipment. Who's going to be the best suited person to drag them out of a building? That's who they want fighting alongside them. And I agree with that. The military is very different, though, right? Because you have infantry and you have people that are going into combat. And when I say combat, combat can mean a lot of things. I'm an aviation guy. Going into combat meant that I was on the back of a vehicle behind a 7.62 millimeter machine gun. Okay. I don't physically have to put my hands on anyone. So it doesn't matter to me in that situation whether it's me or a female or somebody, granted I went when I was 20, but I was half the age of most of the people that I deployed with. And it didn't matter what your race or religion or any of that meant. It was, are you a good shooter? Are you good at keeping your shit cool during a hostile situation? Yes or no? And so I agree to some extent, but most of our warfare has nothing to do with hand-to-hand combat or a situation where you're literally going to run into somebody who's maybe not physically capable of helping you, being a female and maybe 50 pounds lighter than somebody who's a male and, spends every day of their life in the gym. It's just, that's not today's military.
See, and it's interesting to hear you say that because, like, when he did the whole, basically men and women have to meet the same standard, the male standard. I can't remember how he said it, but basically, there's not going to be a separate set of standards for women. Like, I'm watching it and I'm reading Twitter as I'm watching it, and people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he just did that to women." And there's a part of me that's like, where you just kind of explained, like, if I'm in the shit, like. I would hope that everybody has to meet the same standards. If there's a lower standard for anybody, race, gender, whatever, like probably wouldn't make me feel good. So I see that as like the Dems are going to get pissed about that, but that I'll bet a lot of people in the military didn't have a problem with him saying that. Would I be somewhat accurate on that?
Again, I think it's going to go two ways. I think people that are new to the military might be more inclined to jump on that belief. I think certain gun ho, fucking my dick's bigger than yours kind of people in the military might believe that. But if you're looking at somebody who's served and they've, and it also depends on your occupation. But I think most would agree that that is just not the way it translates to real life combat.
Okay.
For instance, in most situations, when you're sending infantry people back in the day, right? Fallujah was a hot zone, 20 years ago, and we heard about that a lot on the news. Well, the reality of it is there weren't a lot of women serving in those units, period. For whatever reason that might have been, whether they just didn't sign up for the job, they didn't make the cut, whatever it was. These are simply just not people that are going into, those roles in war, right? It's people that are playing dentist, me being in aviation, people with clerical jobs, but it's typically not the ones knocking down the doors, special forces, Navy SEALs. That typically is just the best of the best, and there's few to very little females in those roles.
Gotcha. Do you guys, real quick, do you guys remember the Joe Rogan bit from a couple years ago about the guy that broke into the White House and there was a female Secret Service agent guarding the door? You guys remember that at all?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was a pretty funny bit, but he got inside and there's a female Secret Service agent and he just backhands her and keeps going. And the punchline was basically that even Obama was like, dude, like, let's not take things too far. Like, we got a woman guarding me. Anyhow, there was a part of me without upsetting women. There was a part of me that saw what he was saying on that specific thing, and I was like, okay, like, I don't have a problem with that. Also, the guy, and this is different than when you served, Jesse, but the guy that I was talking to the other night, he just got out about a year ago, and he said that during COVID, they had to limit what people could do. You know, they didn't want people coming in contact with each other. So the first thing they caught, the first thing they cut was like the PT and the firearm. You have to requalify every certain amount of time with your fire, and they cut those two things, but kept a lot of like the I don't want to say DEI stuff, but like cut the couple like the non-fighting stuff. And he was saying, he was like, yeah, that's bullshit. Like the most important thing we should be training on is how to fire our gun and staying in shape and ready to go. And those were the first two things cut. So when I heard that guy talk about that, and then I watched what Hegseth said today, I'm like, all right, there's some truth to like we got to get back to being an ass kicking force. Like I don't like the way he delivered it. I don't like the place he and the atmosphere of how he delivered it, but I think he made some decent points, I will say. He said a lot of dumb shit too. Said some good things.
And I agree with that. It's the last thing I'll personally say on the topic, but one thing that really did sit very, very poorly for me through my entire military career was cutting corners, right? So whether it was cutting corners when it came to qualifying your weapons, when it was cutting corners because you knew somebody who worked in the office that could pencil whip what your PT scores were, even though you didn't participate. That I think is, that's horrible, right? We should have the same standard for everybody as far as that goes. Um,
How often was that happening?
it's kind of weird, right? So if you were to talk to somebody, like Tyler, right? We know Tyler, West Point alum, Ranger guy, expert infantryman. That's a different story. He, from day one to still now, right? He's 20 plus years in, he's a lieutenant colonel. Um, he is dealing with the best of the best. And so he has never seen the shamming and the pencil whipping and the laziness that I've seen, right? He's in like 10% of what the military is. I was in what maybe 70% of what the military is, which is just a hodgepodge of everybody. Again, cutting corners, I think that's bad because if, think about it as a corporation. If I'm working for a company and I'm working hard and I'm showing up early or on time every day and I'm doing my part every day, and a friend of a friend, right, who the boss hired is getting special treatment, right, not having to show up to meetings, not having to show up to mandatory this or that, that's not going to do well for anybody in the company,
Yeah.
right? So I think seeing some lackadaisical things take place in the military can really kind of poison the well. But I mean, outside of that, yeah, I mean, PT is super important. It's a standard, right? It's like making your bed when you wake up. It's pretty simple. Same with shooting, right? It's disappointing. They would take you to go shoot like once a year, maybe.
That's
And
it?
at certain times of war, you would go even less. That was a problem. That's a big part of why I got into guns after the military, is I thought this lean, mean military machine was going to make me this, precision shooter. But there are a lot of times where it's like, oh, you qualified? Great. You don't have to shoot another gun for a year. And that's to me like going to the gym for a week and then I get to, hang up my gym gloves for the rest of the year. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. And that kind of reinforces what this guy was telling me the other night. Like without knowing anything about serving, I would assume that like most of your time is like conditioning and training and shooting, practicing shooting whatever weapon you're going to have in the field. Like I would think that'd be most of what you're doing, but apparently not the case. Docs, when it comes to Hegseth, do you got anything to add before we move on to good old Donnie?
Oh, I can't wait to get to Donald Trump. Let's go.
Okay. So Donald Trump. First of all, I have a clip we're gonna play in a minute. And I stitched three things together. I didn't. I was trying to condense here. But first of all, just pay attention throughout all this, without even talking about the substance of what he was saying. Trump doesn't look up and at him anymore. The whole speech, the lady Sarah Longwell from the Bulwark, she tweeted about halfway through. She was like, "It looks like he's sleep talking," and that's kind of the best way I could describe it. Is he was sleep talking? Like his eyes were barely open for most of it. He's real soft spoken now and quiet. I got to go see Shane Gillis in Tulsa 2 weeks ago, and he did a whole bit about how like his Trump impersonation had to change this over this last year because Trump's not talking like he used to. It's all whispering and it's kind of like Joe Biden, and it's very comical. But that's kind of the first thing that I noticed was like Trump doesn't seem as spry as he used to. Is kind of,
No.
but then get past that, the substance of what he was saying. We'll watch these clips here in a second, but it seemed to me like he was trying to kind of prime the generals for like you might have to do some stuff on American land, like in the cities. Did you guys get that vibe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, let's watch this real quick, and then we can all talk about how scary it is.
The ones that are run by the radical left Democrats, what they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. Controlling the physical territory of our border is essential to national security. We haven't even started yet. Last month, I signed an executive order to provide training for quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. And this is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control. It won't get out of control. Once you're involved at all, they all joke. They say, oh, this is not good. That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But we are under invasion from within. We're stopping it very quickly.
Hey, what's the F word that I've been mentioning a lot lately?
I believe that's fascist. And
Uh-huh.
I had lunch with my mom Sunday. I had to go to Texas, and I told her I was like, I am this close to telling Docs he is right about all the fascist talk. And she listens to Bill Maher and stuff. And Bill Maher had a whole deal last week about how we're pretty much there. So Docs, I'm not there yet, but like I'm not going to argue with you on it anymore. Like we're close enough to where I'll let you say it, and I'm about a half an inch from just being like, "Yep, you are correct. This is fascism."
Dude,
Yeah.
that was a very fascistic speech.
So, real quick, the key points: a war from within for the people in this room. He said this is going to affect the people in this room several times. Enemy from within, and then he said under invasion from within a couple times there at the end. He's priming our military for the fact that they might have to go to war with part of America, some Americans. Jesse, as a former enlisted man, how do you hear this?
I hear it exactly the same. I think he's just getting people primed and ready and kind of setting the precedent that this is what I'm going to be calling on you guys to be doing.
Is that scary as hell to you, or is it just me?
I think it's scary that the president's calling for it. I think it's concerning because I know most military people, and that's tough to say, right? It's every walk of life in the military, but I do not see, and I know firsthand from just talking to buddies during one of my last fantasy drafts, right? A group of guys that I deployed with, and it's like, what are your thoughts on what's going on? And whether it's those people specifically or people they know that are still serving, there are very few people that are serving that are behind any of this, especially when it has to do with affecting people within our own country that we know are not terrorists, right? They're not committing hate crimes. It's just civilians. Like for a military personnel to go after civilians, that's insane.
Civilians that are simply, in most cases, expressing their First Amendment right to protest. Now, there are like the people that throw a Molotov cocktail at a federal building, like lock them up. Soon as it turns into that, I'm done. I'm not defending you anymore. But if you're just out there yelling shit, even if you're cursing and yelling at ICE, I don't give a shit. This is America. You get to protest any form of the government you want to. Docs, how do
Well,
you feel knowing that you're going to be one of the main people targeted when this happens?
I feel a little terrified.
I
I'm
was going to
locking
say,
my door during the day. And not to jump away from this, but did you see the executive order NSPM
oh
7
God,
that he
yeah,
signed?
yeah. Let's hold that for a minute. But yeah, that's scary. And this, I'll say this: the scariest part about that is that like the media and most of like all of the Democrats in Congress and the Senate aren't talking about it at all. Like to me, like that came out I think Saturday, and that should have been all we talked about Saturday and Sunday, and it really got almost no attention. Jesse, are you even familiar with this?
First time hearing it.
Okay, Docs, do you have that pulled up by chance?
Um, no, but I know that it's an executive order where he is he didn't say that they're terrorists, but they're the beginning of the terror, like they're who they're going to look at as terrorists are people who are anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-capitalism.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna try to find it.
if like so, but what's the definition of anti-American? Is it anti-Trump? Because I feel like that's really what he's saying is like if you're anti-Trump, you're anti-American at this point. I mean, that's basically what he says a lot. Um,
Which is tough because I know a lot of people that are very pro-America, yet very anti-Trump. And I mean, I'm looking, I think I'm looking at least two, one and a half
Say,
people that fit that description.
well, yeah,
for the
yeah.
real, I love Donald Trump, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'll visit you while you're in jail, Docs, if you're locked up in America. Um,
Yeah.
I want to read this real quick, just
Oh,
in case we don't get back to it. But the Trump administration isn't only targeting organizations or groups, but even individuals and entities for whom NSPM-7 says can be identified by any of the following indicators of violence. Here they are in bullet form: anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, extremism on race, extremism on gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on morality. So some of those
it's
right
all
there, like
vague.
hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion. The traditional American view on religion would be Christianity, right? We all agree on
Sure.
that. So if you are not Christian, like if you're just not Christian, but you don't hold any hostility, are you cool? Or if you're a Muslim, being a Muslim, it comes in direct conflict with what Christians believe. So at that point, do all Muslims hold hostility for the typical American religion? I'm confused. Like it's a real gray area here. Where what are we talking here?
Well, I think if you're any other religion besides Christian, you think that the Christians are going to go to hell.
And it said the traditional American family. So if you're a gay couple that's married and have an adopted child, are you okay? Is that child going to get to
Or
stay with you?
you don't have a white picket fence.
I guess that's not very American. If there's not an apple pie on the windowsill, man, you're going to some African country. So anyhow, back to Trump real quick. Um, what what do you think? I don't even know how to ask this question. If he says, "All right, that's it. I'm sending in this general, 3-star general that's led troops in Afghanistan or wherever," and he calls him back and says, "Up, you guys are going into Chicago now. Maximum lethality. Let's go." Is there any way that they disregard that order? I feel like if they did, he would just fire that general and keep replacing until he gets somebody that could do it.
Yeah, that's probably what we would do.
Jesse, from your experience, I know you weren't a higher up guy, but do you see any way that they say no, I'm not going to follow this is a illegal order and I'm not going to do it?
No, it's not impossible. I was having this conversation with the wife leading into this, and you will. Okay, so if you go back in time, do you remember when the soldier? This is like 2003, maybe 2004, um, maybe a little after. Anyhow, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Donald Rumsfeld, the young soldier, raises his hand, and he's like, "Hey, if we have the financial means of adding armor to every vehicle that's going into theater, why don't we?" And then that caught a lot of good and bad publicity. Some people were like, "Hey, you're a hero for calling out the government for spending frivolously in different directions, but you're not willing to up armor vehicles. And then you had others saying, look, you just talk shit, out of rank, and that was not kosher. You shouldn't have done that. Well, guess what happened? Well, when I deployed, we had one vehicle out of 50 with armor on it. The very next year after that conversation happened, 90% of every vehicle rolling into war was covered in armor. So I think about that in situations like this where I have a hard time believing that somebody who's 20, 30 years into the military, right? And a lot of these people that are generals are not just military people. Like these are people that think differently than most civilians, right? Very high moral, very high ethics. I have a hard time believing that they're even going to maybe wage their pension on doing what they know is highly unethical. And so how they're going to handle it, I have no idea. But I have a hard time seeing a lot of these people in these positions seeing this through exactly the way that they're trying to carry out some of these orders.
Hmm.
I
That's just a
hope
guess.
I hope you're right. I hope your guess is correct because my theory is when this happens, first of all, I think he's gonna go to a general that he knows to be Trump friendly. Like
Yes.
I'm sure there's a couple generals out there that he has heard through the grapevine, love him, and he's gonna go to that general and say, "Hey, here's the deal. We're rolling into Chicago. Like, take no prisoners." I'm afraid that's gonna be the case. I'd love to think of a scenario where our army stands up to Trump and says, "Hey, this is unconstitutional. We can't do this." I don't think I'm going to be right on that. I'd like to dream that that's what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at all these ICE videos where they're just like pointing guns at people and like throwing people. Did you see that guy who was on a bike and was like, he said, fuck Donald Trump. And he got the ICE people to chase him and he ended up getting away. But what
If
were they going to do if they caught him? Like detain him?
Oh, they were going to arrest his ass. Yeah.
For what?
If I didn't already have so many videos pulled tonight, like there's one version of that video that has the Benny Hill music like underneath it, and it's perfect. But yeah, I don't know how he got away. I thought they were going to get him for sure. But there was the guy the ICE agent in New York that pushed a woman down. He was detaining her husband or deporting her husband, and she was getting hysterical, and he shoved her to the ground. And that was a weird one. So it was like, dude, like
Yeah.
there's here's my thing that I really want to get Jesse's opinion on. When we send in the National Guard to police a city like Washington D.C., uh, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, but in any of the basic training or advanced training that you went through, did you guys ever cover de-escalation, like anything like that? Being a police officer, 90% of it is de-escalation and I can't remember what it's called, but it's the use of force. You match the force that's coming at you. You can't just go straight to pulling your gun on people like that. I've talked to a cop that's a soccer dad on my kid's team, and he was saying he was quoting case law. He's like, well, first we have to look at the 1960 blank versus America, and that gives us our instruction on how to do this. And then there was a 1974 case law that went in front of the Supreme Court, and he was like a lawyer talking about de-escalation and use of force. I feel like our army, if we're just sending the National Guard into Chicago, do they have that same training, Jesse?
So they do. I mean, it's minimal, but even with it being minimal training, that's a big part of it, right? So you could go through like a 30-day training before being deployed, right? That's kind of best case scenario. Next door neighbor's going through it right now. The guy, country boy, cowboy neighbor.
Mm.
Well, his son was ROTC. He's National Guard. He just got deployed to El Paso. He's going to go through a training, but it's going to be maybe 3 days of that. 3 days, right? Versus law enforcement that might be getting repeat training for weeks and months throughout your entire career. De-escalation, yeah, they know how to do it in a very modest way, but this is not what we train for. Just black and white. We're there to point a gun at somebody and show an escalatory show of force, try to get a threat to stop. And if it doesn't, well, then we go beyond that. And I don't see a lot of these people wanting to, pull guns out on civilians. If I may, ICE though, you kind of made a parallel to that. One thing that I see that's very unique and different with ICE is it's just a free for all for those that want to be a part of ICE. And I
It's
think the people that they're attracting are those people that would love to just fuck shit up and
Yeah.
go slap somebody that they don't agree with or looks a certain way or dresses a certain way.
Yeah.
Military is very, very different. I think their beliefs and the reasons why they enlist, a lot of it has to do, quite honestly, still with benefits, tuition reimbursement, and things like that, right? There's kind of a financial monetary component tied to it. For ICE, I think it's just a lot of people that love the idea of getting paid to fuck shit up.
Is it getting
Yeah.
paid to fuck shit up or getting paid to specifically go after brown people? I think there's an element of that. There's some racism going on there.
I'm being a little PC on that. They just
Yeah.
want to have the the backing of the government to go and be as racist as they want to be.
Well, and they're taking anybody off the street that wants to be a part of ICE. They're offering $50,000 signing bonuses to anybody that'll join ICE. I don't know what the training is, but Docs, you mentioned the one where the guy he was wrestling. He was an older guy. He was 55 to 65, somewhere in that range, and he's trying to wrestle somebody to the ground, and his gun gets out, and he goes over and gets it, and immediately pops up and starts aiming it at the crowd, like out of fear. You could just tell he was afraid. He thought he was about to get jumped. But there was that. There was the guy in New York. The guy in New York that pushed the lady to the ground had no clue how to de-escalate, and he ended up they gave him like basically a suspension the other day, and it was like, okay, thank God they're doing something about that. Found out today he's already back on duty. They gave him a 2-day suspension. He's back out there. And then also today, I think it was in New York. I don't know if you guys saw the guy that got pushed to the ground and got knocked basically unconscious. He had to be taken out in a stretcher. He was a photojournalist that was there, like capturing people getting arrested coming out of immigration court. And somebody was struggling, and the guy basically turned and just started pushing everybody that was behind him out of the way to get people back, and just jacked this camera guy. He jacked a lady into the camera guy, and he went back and hit his head on the floor. And he's going to have a good loss. I'm feeling he's going to get some money for that. But
Well, you just mentioned 3, but there's like hundreds of
oh
them.
yeah, I'm mentioning the 3 that happened in the past 3 days. But yeah, they're happening all the time. So
And the shittiest part about that, I this might need to get edited, but you know how we grew up watching TV where 20 years ago, if you wanted to watch a show with stuff blown up and cars getting in crashes and things just going wrong, we didn't have YouTube, right? You had maybe one show, one channel, and it's for an hour. And all of us would be glued to the TV going like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this. Like bad shit's going down. Living in the Middle East, I realize most of these people have never even seen a TV. They've never seen the news. They don't have an idea that, for instance, we had to wear PPE. We had to wear personal protective equipment, glasses, gloves, things like that when we're using certain tools. These people would be out there welding, wearing flip-flops and no mask. And I get it. At first, I'm like, how the fuck do they not acknowledge that this is dangerous? It's like, well, if you haven't seen a highlight reel of bad shit happening on TV, you probably have no basis for comparison. And I don't know, I think that kind of plays into this a little bit, where we're only seeing what finally makes it to our eyes through the media versus the highlight reel of shit that either didn't get recorded or is getting suppressed before it ever makes it to us. I can't imagine how much is going on in just the volume of people that are taking advantage of the situation and imposing their will on people that just don't deserve it.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because from what I've noticed, none of these ICE patrols have body cams on, which I think is strategic. Body cams are there to protect the civilian and the police officer when cops are wearing them. But the fact they don't have body cams on, I think they're happy with, and it's kind of one of those where hopefully nobody's got a cell phone nearby recording this. But yeah, I'll bet it's happening left and right. Anyhow, I'll wrap up on Trump by saying that the speech today, I think under any other circumstances, under any other president, like we would all be like, oh my God, this is horrible. But based off, like, this is just the next thing that happened under Trump. And by tomorrow, we will have all forgotten about the Trump speech this morning, is my fear. It's just, we're moving on.
Did you see him talk about battleships?
No, actually, I'm gonna. Yeah, do you have a video on this? I do remember.
I have 2 videos on it. You might want to put them together.
Okay.
Just watch both of them.
To use an old term, I think we should maybe start thinking about battleships, by the way. You know, we have a Secretary of the Navy. He came to me because I look at the Iowa out in California, and I look at different ships and the old pictures. I used to watch Victory at Sea. I love Victory at Sea. Look at these admirals. It's got to be your all-time favorite, black and white. When I look at those ships, they came with the destroyers alongside of them, and man, nothing was going to stop. They were 20 deep, and they were in a straight line, and there was nothing going to stop them. And we actually talk about, those ships. Some people would say, no, that's old technology. I don't know. I don't think it's old technology when you look at those guns. but it's something we're actually considering, the concept of battleship. Nice 6-inch sides, solid steel, not aluminum. Aluminum that melts if it looks at a missile coming at it. Starts melting as the missile's about 2 miles away. Now, those ships, they don't make them that way anymore, but you look at it and your secretary likes it, and I'm sort of open to it. And bullets are a lot less expensive than missiles. A lot of reasons. I should take a vote, but I'm afraid to take that vote because I may get voted out on that one. But I tell you, it's something we're seriously considering. In the Second World War, they were freighters and different types, but we were doing a ship a day, and now we don't do ships. And I'm not a fan of some of the ships you do. I'm a very aesthetic person, and I don't like some of the ships you're doing aesthetically. They say, oh, it's stealth. I said, that's not stealth. An ugly ship is not necessary in order to say you're stealth. By the way, the B-2 bombers were incredible. That is stealth.
All right. That's a jumble of a lot of stuff there. To recap real quick, an ugly ship is not necessary to stay your stealth. I think he doesn't understand like the angles, and I don't fully understand how radar signatures work, but like the stealth planes and all that have like it's all kinds of different angles on the surface of the ship to deflect the radar or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think that's what he doesn't like. He likes smooth curves, and he's saying it doesn't have to be ugly to be radar or to be stealth, I think. He's a very aesthetic person, so he wants a pretty battleship. And then real quick, he said, I used to love to watch Victory at Sea, and that's Victory. I've seen that on the History Channel a bunch. Like he's picturing World War II destroyers, and that's what he wants, the big guns on the front. Like it's kind of like how he wants to take America back to a time of manufacturing. Like that's when
Yeah.
he remembers how great that was, and he wants it to be that way. And he wants our battleships to have big cannons on the front, bombarding the shore. When in reality, that's not what our battleships are doing anymore. They're launching Tomahawk missiles and Hellfire or whatever. But
Pull up that video or that photo that I sent you. I sent you two photos, one of an old battleship and one of a new battleship.
got it.
So yeah, pull up the old one. Is that the one you're kind of thinking of? Is that
Yes,
the
exactly. The one with the guns pointed off the side. Like when you see all the videos of us, like before we stormed the beaches at Normandy, we pounded the beaches for like a whole overnight. And it was with a bunch of ships with big guns like that, pounding all the fortified areas, trying to make it easier to land. That's if we were going to do that today, we would do that 50 yards off or 50 miles off the coast with missiles to where our ships never in harm's way. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't get right up on the coast and start shooting. That's old school fighting. I'm not in the Navy, but I know we don't do that anymore.
Right. And it's a cool looking ship. I mean, it looks mean. I think it looks tough.
Yeah.
Like pull up the other photo of the Zumwalt Destroyer that I sent you.
So China has a ship that's very similar to that apparently is autonomous. Like there's nobody on the ship and it's like a drone basically. It's a sea drone, and apparently their whole thing is it's going to be like a network, almost like a blockade line of those protecting their shores that all like communicate with each other, and that's scary to think. But yeah, they're about to have a fleet of like sea drones that are the size of battleships.
So, and part of the reason why I think he's saying this is because that Zumwalt destroyer, they had planned to build a bunch of them, like a dozen of them or 2 dozen of them.
Probably trying to do like what China's doing and have a fleet of those boats out there.
Yeah, but it was too expensive. It was $3.4 billion a hull.
That's honestly, I would think it'd be more than that, honestly.
Well, they built 3 of them and then they canceled.
Okay.
They couldn't afford them. The Navy couldn't afford to build anymore.
Well, and he said that, he wants to stop making ships out of aluminum and make them out of steel again. I'm using Google, like I guess it's Gemini, the AI feature, but it says no, Navy ships are primarily made or not primarily made of aluminum. They're mainly constructed of steel. However, aluminum alloys are used for many parts of a Navy vessel, such as deck houses, doors, superstructures. So the outside of the ships are still steel. They're not making aluminum outside of ships. I don't know where he got that idea. Somebody told him that, and he's repeating it.
I don't know where you got the idea that the boat starts to disintegrate from
2 miles
missile
out.
that's 2 miles out.
He just starts talking. He was riffing, and that's what today was a perfect example. But he would stay on teleprompter for like 45 seconds, and then you can tell when he like turns to the crowd, and he's like, "Now I'm just gonna riff." And so I'm gonna sidetrack us for a second. But one of the things that irritates me most about him, like when Obama was president, he was a very good speaker, but that means he had a very good team of speechwriters. And like, you never heard him give the same speech twice. Like, whatever event he was going to, they would write him a fresh speech for that event. And
Yeah.
Trump has like his rally speech, and then whatever event he's doing, they'll take his rally speech and they might plug in a little thing here or there, but it's basically his rally speech. Like, he was talking today about the Democrats wanting to do transgender for everybody and playing the hits, as he calls it. But he was just kind of riffing for a while. And it's like, it doesn't always, even at the Charlie Kirk funeral, it devolved into his rally speech at a certain point. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and
It's a little different now. He's definitely shaped it up a little differently, and now he's
it's
talking
killing
about going to new cities. Um, hey, so breaking news, I think our government is 5 minutes into its shutdown.
It is. So yeah, by the time this gets posted, we'll be like 12 hours into a shutdown. All right. Does anybody else have anything to say about Trump and Hegseth this morning? If not, we're jumping into shutdown. Good.
I'm good.
Okay. Before we get into shutdown, we did this a week or a show or two ago. But Jesse, you remember on the Daily Show back in the day when they used to do your daily moment of Zen, and it was always just a fun little moment?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to give us a fun little moment real quick before we get into the shutdown. So let's just check in and see what's going on in the Senate right now. While we're all distracted by Trump, I'm sure that very important things are going on in the Senate. So let's see what they're doing.
How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles?
All right. So
That's so
real?
good.
that is real. Now, he misspoke and it cut off right there, and he realized about a second later what he had just said and went back and cleaned it up. But that's too funny of a clip right there. So let's all come together and agree that we're going to stop attacking pedophiles. Please and thank you.
Well, yeah, he was saying, I watched that clip earlier, and he was like, let's stop. What did he say? He went through a list of like murderers, rapists. Let's not attacking them, but let's stop all murderers. Let's stop all rapists.
Yeah.
And then he said, and let's stop attacking pedophiles. I mean,
With all the Epstein stuff going on right now, that was perfect. Like,
and that's what they're doing is they want to stop. They want everybody to stop attacking the pedophiles.
yeah, Trump can't figure out why we're all so invested in this. He doesn't get it. But
He's the one that started it.
I'll say this again. He's not the one that started. Everybody's like, well, he kept promising on the campaign. He really didn't. All of his people, JD Vance and you name it, every influencer under him was talking about it. And then every time he got asked, like the one time he got asked on Fox, and he was like, well, with Epstein, it's a little different. There's a lot of innocent people in there. Like, so he wasn't talking about it. He was just letting his surrogates go out there and talk about it like crazy. And he was never correct. I guess he never at any point told them, like, hey, ixnay on the Epstein stuff. Like, so
Did he release the Amelia Earhart stuff yet?
He did. I know he said he was gonna though, but yeah, thank God. We've all been wondering what the government conspiracy with Amelia Earhart is. So we'll be good soon. Going into the shutdown real quick. Have you guys witnessed the epic trolling going on by Trump at the moment?
No.
Okay, this pains me to say. The second one was pretty funny. Sometimes Trump does something that's like awful, but at the same time, like I kind of giggle a little because it is funny. Trump met with Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer in the Oval Office yesterday. We're going to talk about this in a minute, but I'm scared to death the Democrats are going to lose the messaging battle on this whole deal. Schumer and Jeffries come out and they talk to the media, and it was very blah. Like it wasn't inspiring at all. And then as soon as they leave, JD Vance and John Thune and Mike Johnson come out, and they were more elegant with their speaking. They were messaging well. Cut to like 2 hours later, and Donald Trump has posted on Truth Social like an AI enhanced video of Schumer and Jeffries talking. People say it's racist. I'll let you guys decide if it's racist. Do you guys know where Hakeem Jeffries is from? It's not Latin America, is it?
I don't know.
Oh, this is important for
That's
the
a good
story.
question.
Because he basically is implying that Hakeem Jeffries is Latin American. Here, let's see here. He's African American, so it doesn't say anything other than that. Anyhow, so the first video Trump puts up last night, everybody's saying it's racist. You guys tell me in a second. And then Jeffries is out in front of Congress today on the stairs. He's got a bunch of people, Democrats behind him, and he gives a big, like, if you got something to say, you say it to my face. And then Trump comes out with a second video not long after, and the second one made me giggle. So check this out real quick. This is the epic trolling over the last 12 hours.
Coded. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
The next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Say it to my face. Disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear, bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
Yeah, that's funny. That's actually really funny.
The second one, I giggled. Now, Hakeem Jeffries doesn't appear to be Latin American, and in both videos, the joke was that Hakeem Jeffries is Mexican or some kind of Latin American. He's not. Is that racist?
I don't know.
The Democrats are all saying that was a racist video that he posted. And I would say when you're trying to negotiate to keep the government open, it's in poor taste. It's not going to help get the negotiating done. But is it racist? I don't know.
It's in poor taste. It's in poor taste. But that's what makes it funny, right?
Yeah, but do you want that out of your president? Like, if that was some shit poster on Twitter, it's funnier.
It makes it funnier that it's our president. I mean, this is hilarious that our president is a shit poster. And second of all, you were telling me that, like, as a Democrat, we need to start picking our battles. And, like, why are we battling over that?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
why are we battling?
Okay, Donald Trump's an idiot. Move on.
Oh, that's what they were all trying to do, like a victim thing today, where it was like, oh my God, so racist, and like I don't know. Like I said,
nobody likes a victim. Nobody likes a victim.
Trump is fantastic at playing the victim. He's always the way he's unfairly being treated by the news or by the judges or by the whoever, you know. So I don't want to be the victim. So hopefully Democrats get off of that. While Trump is out there doing his shit posting, Republicans went on every right-wing YouTube show or Fox News or Newsmax, whatever. They were everywhere they could, and they kept saying that the Democrats want to shut down the government in order to give illegal immigrants free health care. That's their standard line. And Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have said several times, like, no, like, we're not. Like, that it's illegal to have free health care. But they're doing a terrible job at it. Like, and maybe it's because I'm super online and Elon owns Twitter and Zuck owns Facebook, so I just don't see it. But, like, I never see their explaining that this is wrong and illegal. I constantly see the Republican messaging. So everywhere I go, that's what goes viral. You know who the best messenger the left has right now is by far? I want to hear a guess. So Gavin Newsom's second. Gavin Newsom is number 2. Jesse, in your mind, who's the best messenger of the left?
It would have been Gavin Newsom. Besides him,
Pete Hegseth, or no?
Dude, that's the sad thing, man. Is I don't think we really have one.
So the best message? No, not Pete. Pete's
I love Buttigieg. Wish he was more vocal.
So the best messenger we have is actually in the perfect place. Check this clip out real quick from Fox.
Jessica, that letter from the OMB director is essentially a threat that this shutdown happens. You're going to fire people that the discretionary funding doesn't cover.
And Donald Trump made the same threat when he was speaking earlier today as well. He said we can do a lot of really bad things. We can do things that they don't want us to do. And yes, Democrats don't want people to get fired, and Democrats don't want people to lose their health care. But I think the Republican Party is trying to act like they have the upper hand, and they just don't on the merits. First of all, 45% of Americans would blame them versus 32% that would blame the Democrats. And we saw what happens when you give Republicans the votes. We did that in March, and they have governed by and for themselves. They think they don't have to negotiate, when typically on these kinds of things, on CRs, you do that because you don't have the 60 votes to do it.
Right, I hear the polls. I hear what you're saying, but this is kind of simple. You know, this is a plain
but it's not. Because
continuing resolution.
But it's a clean
Either
resolution inclusive of these cuts. And there are smart Republicans like a Josh Hawley, even Senator Thune has said that he's been concerned about this. When you look at what's going to happen with 114% hikes on these ACA premiums, that affects Democrats just as much as Republicans. And there are a lot of Republicans on Obamacare. Mike Johnson and J.D. Vance.
Until the end of the year. So you fund the government.
Enough
and
with
then you
this.
and then you
but
and then you argue
who's
the point.
to say that they're going to sit down and negotiate with us afterwards? They came out of that meeting. Trump is posting racist AI videos saying, I don't need to deal with them at all. Mike Johnson, J.D. Vance are lying about what Democrats are asking, saying we want to fund health care for illegals, which is impossible and doesn't happen. It is impossible. They're saying they want to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. They took $137 billion out and then gave us back $50 billion and said that it's our problem.
I get that.
I'm glad they're giving her more spots than they used to. Like they used to only, she was only on like the 5. What was it? It wasn't the 5, was it?
She used to be on the 5. But she's still on the 5. So she's on, and she gets into it with Greg Gutfield and Jesse Waters every day. But they're having her on more and more now. She's doing great. Like she will get into it with whoever's on there. And like, I like the fact that she was just flat out like, they are lying. This is illegal and impossible. You can't give it. It seems like very simple to do, but for some reason, most of the elected Democrats can't just be that blunt about it. Like Chuck Schumer today. I'm going to make you watch another video real quick, but Chuck Schumer today, he did a little thing on the Senate floor that I thought was a really good point. But he's old and he thinks that like the place to do battle, like the place to duke it out for when it comes to this is on the Senate floor. And nobody's watching C-SPAN. Like, go on Fox News, go on something people are watching and argue there. Real quick.
No, Chuck Schumer needs to stop going on anything. He's not the best messenger for us. He needs to go away. We need her up there. We need Buttigieg. We need Gavin Newsom. We need these people that can actually argue well again for us. Because he's a horrible, like, we wrote him a strongly worded letter.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me put my glasses down like this. A strongly worded letter. What are we doing here?
Yeah, well, the problem is we're stuck with him as the Senate leader for another year and a half. Like, they're not going to swap him out. Now, he can still be the Senate leader, but let's get somebody good. But, like, tonight, for example, everywhere I look, Republicans are all over every channel getting their message out. And then I haven't seen that many Democrats out. And like when the Democrats do go out, they go to MSNBC or they go to CNN or they go to Midas Touch. They don't go into the lion's den and argue it because they're afraid. It's a weird thing, but like they're too afraid to go on Fox for the most part. There's a couple of them that will. Jessica Tarlov, thank God, is there. But like they only go and talk in front of the people that already agree with them.
I don't think Fox News is allowing Pete Buttigieg to go on Fox News anymore.
He ripped them up a couple times.
Did you know he did it like he ripped every single one. Like they put him down the line. Like he started with their lowest level, whatever, and he ripped him a new one, and then they moved him up, and then I think they finally put him on like Hannity, and he ripped him up, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what Gavin Newsom's gone on with Hannity a couple times and dominated. So they probably aren't letting them on.
That's what I'm thinking. Is like Fox News isn't really allowing the good speakers the good messengers in the Democratic Party come on the show.
I agree.
I'm shocked they let Tellerico on there, and same thing.
Well, and so there's a video that just started going around recently of Tallarico on Fox News, but it was actually from like a year ago. Like I think it was him with Will Cain, and he ripped Will Cain a new one. But that was from a year ago. He hasn't been on Fox anytime recently, so let's get him out there. Anybody that can talk good, and I feel like being charismatic is something you either have or do not have, being an engaging speaker, whatever you want to call it. And like we got to quickly identify which Democrats can do that, which ones just have it, and get them on camera and keep the other ones away from the camera at all cost.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries need to, like, I don't know, stop going on anything. So they're so boring.
I agree. Well, real quick, here's Schumer today, and John Thune, he's the Senate Majority Leader, he's a Republican. He had this big chart where he was showing like, hey, look, the Senate Democrats, 100% of them voted for every continuing resolution under Biden, but they're not voting for this one. That was the whole point of his big chart. And Schumer, quick thinking, I'm going to give Schumer some credit. Quick thinking, walks over, they kind of fast forwarded on this clip, but walks over and takes his prop and brings it over to his side and then uses that prop in his own way. Check this video out real quick.
I yield the floor. Does the senator from New York want to enter into a conversation about this?
And if we can get an easel, bring it over, please. I thank the leader for letting me borrow his chart for a minute. I love this chart. Democrats negotiated with Republicans. Democrats negotiated with Republicans. Democrats negotiated with Republicans, and on through the whole chart. Didn't happen this time. Leader Thune did not come once to me and say, is this bill acceptable? What do you want in the bill? So they call it clean. We call it extremely partisan. Not one discussion, House or Senate, between the two leaders. That is not how you negotiate.
So what he's saying there is like this point needs to be made clear to every American. And I think a lot of Americans don't really know how this works, but in the Senate, to get anything through, whether it's a CR or a new budget, you have to get 60 votes. It's really rare that one side has 60 senators, so you always are going to need a couple from the other side. In the entire history of doing this, when it starts to come down to crunch time or you're going to have to take a vote, you show the other side what you got, and you say, hey, can I get 6 of y'all to vote for this? What do we have to do? And there's always a give and take, and you have to give up a little bit, and that's how it always goes. In this case, the first time ever, the Republicans didn't, and from what Schumer and Jeffries were saying, they were trying to get a meeting to look at the CR and to talk about it, to start negotiating. And the Republicans were just like, screw you, we don't need you. And then it comes down to time, they're like, here, vote on this. Vote on it or else the government's going to shut down. That if you need 7 Democrats, you have to give up something for that. That's how this goes. And they're trying to paint this as the Dems are shutting down the government. Well, if you need their 7 votes, they get a say in it. They're going to get 1 or 2 things for their 7 votes. That's how normal procedure goes when you're passing a budget or a continuing resolution. Now, I feel like a lot of Americans aren't really hip to all that going on, and Democrats should be on TV clearly explaining that. They never once came to us on the day that the government's going to shut down. They expected us to have a vote and pass a thing that we've never seen and had no input on. We're not going to do that. I think a lot of people would understand that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even see the Democrats going on some of these left-leaning YouTube channels.
They're scared, man. It's really weird.
Well, because the left-leaning YouTube channels are going to put their feet to the fire on something, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they do. Because, like, if you have a criticism on the left, you voice it. And that's how we get better. And that's why the Democrats are, in my opinion, superior to the Republicans. Is like we talk about our issues and we go through the issues and we talk them out and we argue about them, and then we like come to an agreement at some point.
I have a theory that I came up with earlier today watching all this. And my theory is the problem with Democrats, and this is a good problem to have, but Democrats have shame. Okay. So they're afraid to go out on a podcast and say, like, yes, we should shut down the government to get what we want here. Because anybody could easily say, well, hey, in 2022, you said that what the Republicans were doing was wrong and that you should never shut down the government. And they would get caught in a thing where it's like, ooh, you got me. I'm being a hypocrite here. And they're afraid of that moment. Whereas Republicans have no shame, and you can go out and say whatever you need to say. And if anybody tries to say, well, hey, 2 years ago, you actually had a completely different point of view, they just blow right by it and just filibuster and start talking. And they never really address that. They have no shame. So they're not afraid to go into the lion's den. Mike Johnson went on Caitlin Collins' show on CNN tonight, and it's a 3-minute clip. I want to play it, but it's too long. But she was like,
it's not. It's worth it.
You guys want to watch a 3-minute clip real quick?
One, I love her. And 2, I appreciate, I was going to bring her up a second ago. She, though not a part of the Democratic Party, is one of the very few people I see pushing back on fact-checking people in real time and calling their bullshit out on live TV.
Well, then you're going to like this clip with her and Mike Johnson. So this is from CNN.
You make that first point at the White House yesterday after the meeting y'all had with the president and with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. People, as you know, people who are here in the United States legally have never been eligible for the Obamacare subsidies, for Medicare, for Medicaid. So what exactly are you saying that they're trying to do when you talk about giving free health care to them?
I'm so glad you asked. Okay, so when we passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, we had Medicaid reforms in the bill. You and I talked about it on the air. What we did was to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. There were a lot of people on the program who were enrolled in the program who were never eligible to be there. Medicaid is intended for eligible U.S. citizens, not illegal aliens, not also U.S. citizens who are able-bodied workers, like young men. So we passed the law. The president signed it into law. Democrats voted against it, of course. And it's been wildly successful. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, which is the neutral arbiter of all these things, released a report a few weeks ago, earlier this month, and they said, you know what? The bill has had its intended purpose. Premiums are coming down, listen, because 2.3 million ineligible enrollees had been kicked off of Medicaid, which helps to save the program, prop it up. And $185 billion has been saved already
So
on fraud, waste, and
basically,
abuse.
what you did was narrow the eligibility for certain people to get access to the ACA subsidies. What they want to do is undo the changes that Republicans made in that. But basically, wouldn't that only affect people who do have legal status, people who are refugee seekers here in the United States, asylum seekers here?
Those are two totally different issues. Now, they've created this as a new argument that they have as to why they should not keep the government open, but they're arguing a December policy debate for a September funding issue. The subsidies that you're talking about don't expire until the end of December.
No. Those are the subsidies for just everyday Americans. That's one thing that obviously has been the main premise of their argument. But you're saying they want to give free health care to people who are in the United States illegally.
That is exactly what the effect will be.
But when I looked at it, there's a little nuance because they want to undo changes that y'all made, narrowing who is eligible to get that. Those are people who are refugee seekers, asylum seekers. They're not technically people who are here illegally, just cross the border.
No, this is exactly what will happen. And Maxine Waters admitted, I think, accidentally today on the House steps, they want to give health care to everybody.
But Maxine Waters is not in charge. She's not the one. She didn't write this proposal.
She's one of the senior leaders in the House.
And
everybody should Google it and read their counter proposal
yourself. But you see
yourself.
my point, right? You're making this argument that they want to just give health care to everyone who's here illegally. This is not for people who cross the border and don't have paperwork. These are people who have temporary protected status, right?
No, absolutely what will happen if that counter proposal was enacted is illegal aliens would be paid for. American taxpayers, hard-earned dollars, would be paying for benefits for illegal aliens again. We're not doing that.
But it's against federal law for people who are here illegally to get
Yes,
health
and that's
care.
why our reforms are so important to enforce all that. What the important thing to remember is what's happening
I didn't see that in the
tonight.
Democratic proposal that people who are here illegally
No,
should get health care.
because they don't have the level of specification that we had in our bill. It will unwind that and all those things that the CBO.
She held his feet to the fire. What I hate is normally like the Democrats will ask a question, like they're going to hold their feet to the fire, and then the Republican will just kind of talk about whatever else, and then they just move on to the next question. And it's like, no, he didn't answer it, or he lied, or whatever. Like, ask him again. And she, in that clip, what did she ask him 4 different times? Like, hold on, wait, no, you're saying this. What I'm asking is this. And he kept dancing around, and she was 100% right. With their cutbacks, they thought there were too many able-bodied Americans, young men that should be working that are on Medicaid instead. Turns out a lot of those people are going through like addiction type stuff. They're trying to get off pills. Apparently, it was something like 40% of people that are seeking treatment for addiction are doing it using Medicaid, because it's a lot of like just outside of where I live, there's a lot of like that kind of meth country type area. Those people are all on Medicaid. And anyhow, I wish they could. This is a fight they should be able to win. They wrote down what they want. It's public. You could Google it. Nowhere in there does it say free health care for illegal immigrants. That's illegal. You can't do that. Yet the Republicans have convinced, I'm going to bet 60% of America that that's what this fight is over. The people that don't pay attention and just kind of hear a clip here and there, they're like, oh yeah, I think the Democrats are trying to give illegal immigrants free health care. What's going on?
Yeah.
No, that's not what's happening here.
And the Democrats are shutting down the government is what the messaging is.
Yeah. Although Jessica Tarlov pointed out the polling this morning, 45% of America would blame the Republicans, 32% blames the Democrats, and the rest don't have a clue what's going on. So and normally the Republicans are seen as the people shutting down the government. For whatever reason, they tend to lose the shutdown battles. Now, that was like the last couple we had Nancy Pelosi at the helm, and I don't necessarily like her. I know Republicans hate her, but I'll tell you this, she was good at what she did, and
Yeah.
she whooped Trump several times in his first term. So I kind of there's a part of me, she's still in Congress. There's a part of me that's like, can we get Nancy Pelosi back on stage, like anywhere? She did a way
She's
better
not looking
job.
that good these days. She's getting on up there.
Is that why I'm not seeing her at all?
I think so. The last couple times I've seen her, she kind of has like the my dentures are falling out as I'm talking type of speech.
Gotcha.
A little slurry.
She's gone through a lot.
That's scary. But no, the way Caitlin Collins just did that right there, where she stuck and she kept, re-asking the question. I wish the press pool that deals with Trump could like get a game plan together. And it's like, because today, and we're about to play a clip of this, but today somebody asked him the same kind of question. Hey, it's illegal for illegal immigrants to have health care. What are you trying to say here? And he just like blabbled for like 45 seconds and then was like, all right, next you. And that next person just rolled into a different question. And I wish they could be a little coordinated and be like, no, no, no. Okay, my question, I'm going to re-ask the same one that she just did. And they just all keep asking that question until he either answers it or ends the press conference. But he's too good at just railroading them and not answering the question ever.
See, and I question myself why they do that. And then I hear about the changes they're looking to make and, having to have the information that you're going to report outside of these meetings, like approved ahead of time.
That's
so
what the
people being
Pentagon.
invited, not like it's, I feel like they're walking on eggshells and making sure they don't get the boot
Well,
too early.
He kicked 2 or 3 reporters out of being able to cover, like, to be in the press pool. The AP, I can't, SV Date. I can't remember where he reports from, but he's the one who he refused to call it the Gulf of America or something, and they barred him from doing it. But yeah, Jesse, you're right. Like, they're afraid to go too hard at Trump because he knows they'll get removed. And like, if CNN gets banned from covering the White House, like that would be a little detrimental to them. Like
But it would
their
also
business.
be
detrimental to us.
Yeah,
it would be good big news though. I think he would get a lot of crap for that. Because that's kind of like Biden banning Fox News from the White House.
So there was a time during Obama's administration, and he didn't ban Fox, but he did something to Fox. I can't remember for the life of me what he did, but it was so interesting because CNN, MSNBC, the AP, ABC News, they all got together and basically stood up to Obama and said, "Hey, Fox is media. You can't do that. Like you treat him bad, you're dealing with all of us." And it was an interesting thing to see. When Trump turns and attacks left-wing media, Fox ain't got shit to say. And I kind of want to go back. I'm like, I know that was 10 years ago, but like, return the love. Like, what's going on here? So anyhow, let's watch Trump evade this answer real quick. This is we only got a couple more videos left tonight, but check this out.
Time for that.
Not eligible for the health care subsidies that Democrats are demanding. So can you clarify, what are you talking about when you say Democrats want to protect their health care?
So when an illegal person comes in, a person who came into our country illegally, therefore breaking the law, and look, we all have big hearts. I have a bigger heart than you do. They're all breaking the law, and they're coming into our country. And we just, as a country, cannot afford to take care of millions of people who have broken the law coming in. We want them to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. Now we have a strong border, very strong border, thanks to Christie and Tom Homan and the whole group. They've done an amazing job at the border. I mean, we had a border that was reckless. We had a border that was a disaster. They were coming in by the millions. I say 25 million people. You're saying less, but I say 25 million people came in illegally. And no system can take care of the health care of all of those people that came in. Now,
oh my gosh.
The original question there was, sir, it's illegal for illegal immigrants to get health care. What exactly are you trying to say here? And then he blabbled about border security and how good he's doing. And, it's impossible for any society to take it. Okay, well, that's not answering the question. And he rambled on for a little bit longer. But when he went to the next person, the next question should have been, sir, you didn't answer her question. It's illegal for them to have health care. What is it you're trying to say here? And just keep going down the road till he either ends it or answers the damn question. And they're not going to do that. And I wish they would just almost pregame, like get together and figure out what are the 2 questions we want answered today. Let's go in there and everybody stay on topic till he answers our questions.
I have a bigger heart than you.
That's one of those things where whatever he's saying, he's like, I have a tie. I have more ties than anyone in the world. Or he always has to like throw this out there. I know more about buildings than anyone in the world or whatever. He can't help himself. Like, I don't think that he doesn't think that as he's talking, that just happens where he's like, oh, by the way, I have a bigger heart than you. And he can't help himself.
It's muscle memory, man. He's been doing it since he was out of the womb.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a compilation video of all the things Trump does better than everybody else. I don't know if you guys ever, it was running around a couple years ago, but it's hysterical. Good. Yeah. So anyhow, that's all my videos on the shutdown. But having seen what you guys just saw, who do you think's going to cave? Because somebody's going to cave. I don't care. It's going to happen. Will Trump cave or will Democrats? Because right now I feel like Republicans have a better backbone on this stuff. And I really fear Schumer being the one that gets to pull the trigger of whether we cave or not.
So educate me a little bit. What would be some of the reasons why one side would cave over the other?
So the Republicans are trying to do a clean CR, which is it's a joke of a CR because a CR is a continuing resolution. So the same budget we've been operating under, we're just going to extend it, and they want to extend it till like the end of the year to give them time to work out their real budget. Little history lesson: we've been doing CRs since like 2022, I think. At this point, we've been under the same CR. So we're doing a Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden spending package that we just keep continuing because we can't come up with a better budget. Now, Trump, what he's done since he got sworn in this last time is he basically has this belief in rescissions. It's the unilateral executive theory, where like, well, if Congress says we can spend $300 billion on FEMA, I don't have to spend $300 billion. That's just the price limit of what I can spend. So he's been using rescissions to say like, oh, I'm just not going to spend this money. Congress appropriated, I'm not going to spend it. Every constitutional scholar says, no, that's not how it works. Congress controls the purse strings. They decide what money gets spent and how. Trump has to spend it this way. This case is working its way up to the Supreme Court. It's going to be a while before it gets there. So the first thing the Republicans said was, the Democrats. The Democrats said, hey, we're not signing another CR unless we pass some kind of a bill that makes it where he can't do rescissions. You know, something, whatever we pass, he's actually going to spend. Otherwise, we're not signing shit, because why would we sign it? He's just going to choose not to fund the things we care about, which is, I 100% agree with them on that, okay? Republicans said that's a non-starter. Not happening, no way, no how. So then Democrats came back and said, okay, well, here's our list of demands. And it's basically wanting to undo a lot of things that Trump did in the big, beautiful bill. The one they're really focusing on is health care, because that's the one that polls the best. Most Americans are afraid of their health care prices. It's already too high, and they're about to go up higher. According to estimates, at the end of the year, a certain amount of Americans are going to pay like $400 or $500 more a month on insurance premiums, I guess. So that's going to happen in like 3 months unless something is done to fix it. The big thing that Democrats are asking for right now is it'd be an extension of the Obamacare subsidies, which would therefore make everybody's health care not jump up here in 3 months. So Trump is either going to give in and say, okay, we'll give you what you want, or Dems are going to say, never mind, we're just going to go ahead and vote for it. We didn't get what we want. We need to open the government. So somebody's going to lose in this showdown.
It depends on how bad it hurts Trump and for how long. Like, I feel like the Democrats could hold off. Like Chuck Schumer's, he's already thinking about caving in, right?
He's thinking about it, yeah.
He wants the government open, and I don't blame him, because I want the government open too. But if we could hold off for 3 or 4 months and it starts really hurting Trump in the poll numbers, like people start protesting, what else could happen? Like, just the government's not working. Like, so how long before like Secret Service agents stop protecting Trump?
I'm going to tell you 2 reasons why I think that Trump is not going to feel any pain from this. First thing, hurricane season's like we're in the thick of it. We have 2 hurricanes in the Atlantic right now. It looks like one of them is going to kind of do a drive-by on the East Coast and cause a lot of flooding. The president gets to decide what stays open, what is essential, and what is not. The president has all the power in a shutdown. So he's already saying he's going to do all the things to basically hurt Americans that he can, so he can then blame it on the Democrats. He's going to send FEMA home, this and that. So if FEMA's not here in a week or 2 when these hurricanes hit, like, Trump doesn't really have empathy. And even if like Americans are suffering and they need FEMA support, he's just going to be going, well, the Democrats shouldn't have shut it down. So I think in a scenario like that, with a natural disaster that the government needs to respond to, I think the Democrats are more likely to be like, okay, there's Americans suffering. We just need to go ahead and get this reopened to help the Americans. But here's the second one. This is the more important one, real quick. Give me a second here. In 2 weeks, the September jobs data comes out, and then like 3 days later, the September inflation data comes out. It's been getting worse the last couple of months, and I've been saying this for 5 months now, but everybody was saying Q3, Q4 is when it's really going to hit, and there is worry that these jobs and inflation numbers, especially inflation, is going to be really bad this time. Trump, if we just went into a shutdown, so BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, is definitely getting shut down. So there will be no jobs report, there will be no inflation report until the government opens back up. So if you're Trump, yay for that. Like you don't run the risk. And then they have to do another rate cut, or the time they could do another rate cut. The Fed is at the end of this month, and the data from those two things, the jobs report and the inflation report, would really keyly factor in to whether or not we're doing a rates cut, and they won't have that data, and they'll have to decide. So they very well possibly could end up deciding to cut another half a point or so, and then later when they see the numbers go, oh God, we shouldn't have done that. It's gonna spike inflation or whatever it is. So if you're Trump, no bad economy numbers can come out during a shutdown. And then, like I said, hurricane stuff, I think the Democrats are going to feel the pain on that more than him.
Did you say FEMA? I thought you already canceled FEMA.
No, so FEMA is still open. In fact, recently governors have been pleading with him to invest more back into FEMA, and it looks like he might be going to do it. And I haven't done it yet, but FEMA is still open. He just defunded a big part of it. But then, like when the Texas floods happened, he sent FEMA money to Texas. So the thing he's trying to do now is basically say, FEMA should just be a money distribution thing. Like we shouldn't send in the national FEMA. Give the money to the state. They know how to use it best. It should be FEMA should be like 3 people and a checkbook, and be like, oh, Texas got hit. Here, send them money. Let them figure it out themselves.
He's only going to fund the red states.
That's part of the problem. But I will say, the Republican in me, I don't disagree with that. Give the money to the state. They know how they need to use it best. If you have to wait on the feds to get all their people down there, that takes time. Like just quickly get the money there, and hopefully that governor knows what he's doing.
Well, I think there should be maybe a mixture of both. Like, okay, write them a check so that they can get stuff done right now while we get our professional FEMA people into your state who actually know how to handle a catastrophe like that, you know?
Yep. Combination works for me, but but that's why I think that it's going to be easier for Trump to last a while here, which the longest shutdown ever was Trump in 2018, and it was 35 days, and it was when he finally caved to Nancy Pelosi. But what happened was the holidays started approaching, and the airports, like TSA, there was backups everywhere, and people really started complaining, and that's when he finally caved on it. We don't have holidays coming up for a couple months here. The FEMA would be the one that I think might cause this to come to a close.
Well, I don't think people are going to show up for work if they're not getting paid. 2-3 weeks.
So almost everybody in the government they'll get furloughed, which is sent home basically. But then when they come back, they get back pay. So like a lot of people in DC love a shutdown. Like the bars in DC run like happy hour specials and shit. Like it's shutdown time. Everybody's day drinking and they don't have to go to work. And then when the government finally reopens, they get all their back pay for the time they missed. People don't hate that. Now there are certain like ICE. ICE is essential, but they don't get paid. So ICE is going to be expected to show up and keep working every day, but they're not going to get a paycheck until the shutdowns, and then they'll get their back pay. But yeah, same with the armed forces, though. I believe like if you're stationed overseas in the military, you're going to miss a check or two if this goes on for however long. But then eventually you get that money back.
Yeah. Same with park services and stuff like that.
Well, and like the part, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Obama had a shutdown in like 2014, somewhere around there, the president gets to pick and choose what's going to be open. And Obama straight up was like, I'm going to shut down the park services because he knew that would cause the most outrage. He didn't have to. Before that, the park services weren't a thing that got shut down all the time, but he shut it down strategically. And then there was such a backlash. Like, remember the picture? I don't know if you remember, Docs, but there were pictures of trash cans overflowing at state parks and litter and all that. That was that time. And that was part of what made the Republicans eventually cave. Like, so
which is super sad. You think that people that are going to the parks, like, we would all come together and like clean the trash up.
Yeah. You would think, pack your trash out. It's really easy to do, but
yeah.
So, but and Trump's being very, very open about this. He's saying flat out, if there's a shutdown, I'm going to get to pick and choose what's going to be open, and I'm going to close the things that are going to hurt Democrats. And he doesn't mean Democrats in Congress. He means Democratic citizens. So, and he's going to end up hurting his own citizens in the process. But, But yeah, so he's going to get to pick and choose what stays open. The Department of Education, closed. I guarantee it. ICE definitely staying open. So, Jesse, who do you think is going to cave on this?
Sadly, the Democrats.
Yeah, no backbone, right?
Uh, you could use that phrase, but I feel like it's maybe more of the compassionate side of the group.
Yeah. They see Americans in pain. That's what I'm saying with the FEMA and the hurricanes and all that. Like if one of those hurricanes does big damage, I think the Dems will break first for sure. I think Trump could sit there and watch Americans in pain and it wouldn't really bother him. I know a lot of Republicans that would flat out disagree with that, but in my heart, I believe that Trump has no empathy for poor people.
It's going to hit Florida though too. So I mean,
it's going to hit part of Florida, but it's mainly going to be like the Carolinas and Virginia that I think it's going to hit the most.
So that's all Trump country.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't care about his own people.
He doesn't.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, I feel like even though Florida's predominantly Republican, I feel like he doesn't give two shits about Florida.
Well, that's one of the things though is Trump voters will tell you that like he cares about the everyday man. He cares about him more than any president ever has. Like I've heard people say this to me, and it's one of those where I'm like, are we watching the same dude? Because the dude I'm watching, I don't think cares about us at all. But a Trump voter believes that like A, he's the most Christian president ever. And God chose him, and B, he's one of us. Like he's not one of those elites. Donald Trump cares about the everyday man,
stupid.
And it's like he's got a golden toilet in his golden penthouse. It's very upsetting.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh
no. Anyhow, that's all I got on shutdown talk. Doc,
Okay.
you had one other thing I see on here. What do you got for us?
One other thing. Watch the video. Let's start with that.
Pfizer is committing, as will other drug companies as we go through the weeks. But Pfizer is truly one of the biggest in the world and one of the greatest in the world. Today, Pfizer is committing to offer all of their prescription medications to Medicaid, and it will be at the most favored nation's prices. It's going to have a huge impact on bringing Medicaid costs down like nothing else. I told you that in my first term, I was so proud of the fact that for the first time in 28 years, drug prices came down. And I had a news conference that I explained it was 0.1%, but it was down. And here we're talking about, in one case, over 1,000%. This is a critical step forward to our work and to improve health care, and hardworking, low-income Americans, especially low-income Americans, will be helped so greatly. In addition, Pfizer is agreeing to provide some of their most popular current medications to all consumers at heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50 and even 100%, and that's off the price. And in some cases, even more than that. These drugs will be available for direct purchase online at a website operated by the federal government. We're also announcing that moving forward, all new medications introduced by Pfizer to the American market will be sold at the reduced most favored nation cost. So we'll be paying essentially what other countries are paying, who have been much lower for many, many years.
I have so many things to say about that. I'm going to be long-winded, so if either one of you two wants to talk real quick, go for it. But I could talk for a minute.
He goes on to say it's going to be a decrease. We're going to get a discount of 1,400, 1,500, or even 1,600%.
Okay, Jesse,
which means they're going to pay us to take the drugs.
They're going to pay us, yeah, 100%. We're going to get paid. This is like the next, what is it, MLM scheme,
multi-level marketing.
Yes, sir.
I want to reach out to a mathematician or somebody really smart, because in my head I'm like, something can't go down 1,000%. That's not how it works. But then I'm wondering, like, is this one of those ones where I'm not getting it, and is there a chance that we're all laughing and he's right? Like, can prices somehow go down 1,400%, or are we okay? So I feel like I'm missing something, because he said it.
This is the second time he said that too, no. And he's been briefed on it. He's trolling again. I think
the fact that he said it like 15 times in the last couple of months, like sooner or later, isn't somebody going to tell him, "Hey, sir, that's not mathematically possible"? Like they had to have, you would think. But let me say this real quick. First of all, he giving a lot of compliments to Pfizer. He even said how good they did with COVID. He didn't say with the COVID vaccine, but how good they did with COVID, meaning the vaccine. from what I see on right-wing media, Joe Rogan, you name it, they don't seem to like Pfizer very much, and they're not happy with the COVID vaccine. And Trump was praising them quite a bit there about how great Pfizer is. So that I'm wondering how that's going to play out on podcasts, basically, on all the right-wing podcasts. Secondly, I don't. I'm not going to hold my breath about anything he just said because during his first term, he did a whole thing where he was going to bring drug prices down, blah, 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 and it never happened. And then earlier this term, he announced the favored nations thing that was immediately going to bring down prices, and it still hasn't happened. It's been like 6 months since he said that. So he said all this today. I hope he does it.
I think this was he's calling it Trump RX.
So, and he's stealing that from Mark Cuban, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. But that's okay, cool. If he can manage to bring down the price of prescription drugs in America, then I will praise him for that. But he's already done these big ceremonies where he's announced this twice, and it's never happened. Biden actually brought down the price of like 10 drugs, which, I wish it was more than 10, but at least it was 10. It was 10 that get used a lot. He put the $35 cap on insulin, which Trump removed like his second day in office for some reason.
Now people are paying like $1,000 a pop, aren't they?
I hear horror stories from people, but if he manages to do it, cool. I'm just warning everybody. This is now the third time he's announced this, and it hasn't happened yet. So don't hold your breath.
He said there's a website coming up, TrumpRx.gov.
Well, So Mark Cuban owns Cost Plus Drugs, and he has said on different podcasts that he's called Trump and tried to explain to Trump how this works and how this could basically, I think Cuban's trying to parlay it into his website, helping the government, which I'm sure would be financially good for him.
Sure.
But he's tried to sell Trump on this, and he said that Trump's not interested in it. It turns out Trump just basically stole the idea from him, and it sounds like Trump RX is basically going to be the government's version of Cost Plus Drugs. I'll bet Cuban is pissed right now. I checked Twitter. I haven't seen him saying anything yet. But again, if it brings down the cost of prescription drugs, then cool. I will say Trump did a good thing. I have no problem with that. I don't believe him. And he's got to earn my trust back. He's broken on my trust on healthcare stuff 3 times already. I don't trust him on it.
Do you trust him on anything?
No, and when he says he's going to do something bad, I normally believe it. like when he was saying today that he gets to pick what stays open and he's going to choose things that close that are going to be harmful to Democrats. Like I believe him on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe his threats. I don't believe his promises, but I believe his threats is the best way I can say it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So, Jesse, what are your thoughts? Real quick, I'd love to know your thoughts on what you just said, but also while we have you here, there's all this talk of them trying to privatize the VA, and I know Democrats are like, no, we can't do that. But I also know that the government tends to run things in a shitty way, and I've never heard a veteran say good things about how great the VA is treating them and how great everything is. Do you have anything to say on that?
I really don't. I agree with what you just said, and I think it kind of goes both ways. But, privatizing under his regime, I have no idea what that looks like.
That means one of his billionaire friends is going to be in charge and making all the money. That's what that means.
Could be that. It could be a lot of, holding back spending by declining a bunch of people that genuinely need the help.
Yeah. It's scary. I wish we could just go to, and I just turned the corner on this in the last year or so, but I wasn't a big, universal health care, single payer Bernie idea. But I've hit a point now where it's like, it needs to be single payer, universal health care, and the Army should get the same health care that we get, and the Congress should get the same health care we get. Like, if you're an American, you get health care, and it's the same for everybody. There's not tiers to it. I very much have hit that point. Like, healthcare is getting ridiculous. My wife, luckily, works at a company that we have decent healthcare. We're paying more for it than we thought we ever would, but we still have decent healthcare. And when I hear how much other people are paying for it, I'm thrilled to have what we have. But like, I hear too many horror stories. Personally, I'll say this, my knee has been bothering me for 6 months. If I go to the doctor, it's going to auto deduct a certain amount out of my wife's check. And then I'm sure I'll go to my primary care first, and then I'll have to go get an x-ray, and then I'll have to go to a specialist. And every time I go, it's taking money out of her check, and I don't want to do that to her. So I end up putting off getting my knee looked at just because I don't want to pull a couple $100 out of her paycheck. That's my knee, which I'm hopefully not going to die from my knee. But you have people that are having like chest pains, and they're like, I'm just going to avoid it so I don't I don't have the money to go. And then they end up in the ER where something that maybe they could have gotten ahead of. So something has to be done.
there's so many people that don't take an ambulance ride when they need it because they don't want to pay the $2,000 a pop for an ambulance ride.
Dude,
Oh, for
when
sure.
when I was in the hospital, I was this is 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, but I was in the hospital for like 3 weeks. And the day that I went, I was not doing well. I'll say this: I'm glad my wife got me to go to the hospital because I might not have lived through the day if she hadn't. But the way she finally got me to go to the hospital is she dialed 911 on her phone and then held her finger over call and said, "If you don't go get in my car, I'm going to call an ambulance." And I said, "No, an ambulance would cost so much money." And I ended up going to get in her car from the threat of having to pay for an ambulance. And then
Yeah.
at one point, I got moved from one hospital to another, and it was a 6 mile drive, and it was $1,700. And it turned out, because they didn't ask us at the time, it turned out the ambulance was out of network. So we got, yeah, it was like, oh, like, before you moved me, you couldn't have checked with my wife and maybe gotten a company that is in our network. Nope, they just picked one and went with
our
it.
healthcare system is horrible.
Yep.
Compared to any other, first world nation or, I mean, any Western civilization. They all have free healthcare. They all have a version of single payer healthcare.
Yep.
Except for us.
They've all figured it out.
Even, I can't say the name because we might get kicked off, but even they have a single payer healthcare organization.
Do you guys watch, have you guys seen the Harry Potter movies?
No.
From a distance.
Okay. I've seen them.
I'm a 42-year-old man. I do not watch the Harry Potter movies.
My
you don't know how many people to ask me that question, and I'm like, no, I don't watch those movies. I'm 42 years old. That is for children.
My daughter made me watch all 8 of them, and I did it in like 8 straight nights. I just powered through them all. But the bad guy in that, Voldemort or whatever, they call him like he who cannot be named, and I feel like we have to come up with some kind of thing like that for this other country. The country that shall not be named or something. So, yeah.
Okay, I like it. Yeah,
I don't want. By the way, real quick, we were talking about all. This was an episode or two. We were talking about all the different news agencies that are getting bought by Trump donors, and the ones that aren't getting bought are paying Trump. Settling with him. YouTube settled yesterday with Trump. $25.4 million they're paying to Trump. Just so you know.
Why?
Because he got kicked off of YouTube back when he got kicked off of Twitter and all that. He got kicked off of YouTube like right after the January 6th, and he's now suing them for violating his First Amendment rights. And it's a case that everybody on both sides agrees he would have lost. YouTube is a private company. They can kick anybody off they want to. They could have easily taken this to court and won. But Google, who owns YouTube, is currently being sued or investigated. I'm not sure which one, by the federal government for monopoly type stuff. So YouTube settled and paid him this money in hopes that now this other investigation or whatever it is will go away. And I'll bet it will. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'll bet they just invested $25 million to have something else bigger go away.
We're living in the most corrupt time in American history.
Well, and you know what that means is if Google is now in his pocket, not only can we not talk about that country, but we're going to have to come up with like a code name for Trump because the AI will start picking up that we're talking crap about Trump and suddenly it'll start throttling all the shows that are being negative.
Oh my God.
I'm taking a couple steps forward here. I don't know if we're there yet, but I'm just saying logically, you look at where we're going.
We're going to have to build our base through like email at this point.
So when conservatives
send people videos.
When conservatives started getting censored during COVID for like COVID conspiracy theories, they all went to Rumble. I don't know if you guys have ever. Rumble's like a YouTube, but I think it's based out of Canada, and so everybody that's banned from YouTube ends up on Rumble. There's gonna have to be some kind of a left-wing resistance place where all the media and random people like us can go and complain. Like they need to come up with the left version of Rumble, like real quick.
We have Blue Sky. That's about it.
Blue Sky's terrible. Jesse, have you been on Blue Sky at all?
It's not terrible. It's just.
It's a bunch of Democrats agreeing with each other. Like
it really is.
So right. Twitter is
you want to fight, you want to argue, you want to go to Twitter and you want to see people talking shit to each other all day long.
Twitter is so toxic, but like the fact that it's toxic keeps me coming back. Yeah. I went to Blue Sky and I was like, screw Twitter, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then I was on Blue Sky for like 5 minutes and I was just like, this is boring. Like it's just it's a post about how much they hate Trump, and then all the replies are people being like, yeah, get him, you go girl, or whatever. Like it's just all supportive and it's not fun at all. So that's how I feel. It's a good idea, but it's not fun in principle. So anyhow, I got nothing else for tonight. You guys got anything?
Nope. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah. Can I end with one more video? It's gonna take a minute and then we're gonna get out of here.
Let's do it.
Okay. Messaging, we talk about a lot. The Democrats suck at messaging. Somebody, I don't remember the name of this group. We'll see it in a second. Came out with kind of the first anti-Trump campaign video that's going to be heading into midterms, and I think it's the perfect message.
Freedom of speech is more under attack now, honestly, than I think it has ever been.
You've got a feud between the president and a talk show host.
Jimmy Kimmel said a joke that people don't like.
FCC chairman says, hey, you guys should watch your fucking mouth, essentially, because there could be consequences.
I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say.
Nobody wants to live in a country where a late night comedian is subject to removal because he says something that the president of the United States doesn't like.
This guy said in the inauguration, I'm going to pass an executive order to end government censorship.
We'll also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship.
It seems the motherfucker lied about everything. If you are a staunch Trump guy, you should be upset about this. This is crazy.
That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Okay, that was by Home of the Brave. I think that, that's the perfect attack. Like, Republicans care about free speech. I wish they would have wrapped up something about the flag burning into there, because that is a First Amendment free speech issue. But I thought that was attack the stuff and do it with, if you can use Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon and the guys from the Flagrant podcast to be the messengers, that's going to get dudes our age to actually pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right. Do you think they got permission to use that? Because didn't Trump just get in trouble with Theo Vaughn for using Theo Vaughn in like an immigration video?
So, yeah, that was actually pretty awesome, I will say, though, because they put Theo Vaughn in one of their ASMR videos. And Theo Vaughn, I should have pulled it, but his response was basically like, hey, I didn't give you guys permission, and my views on immigration are a lot more nuanced than this video shows. Like, please, send me a check for using my likeness and pull this video down. And they actually did. They pulled the video down the next day. So
nice.
Good.
So they were going to get in trouble. So I guess this group is just taking a chance, or maybe they got a whole rogue of people and like, hey, can we use these clips? And
so I think if you put yourself out there on YouTube, that can be clipped, I believe.
But that's where they got it from Theo Vaughn, I'm sure.
I don't know where that Theo Vaughn video is him talking into an iPhone. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that might not have been on his show, is what I'm saying. If it's on their show, I think you can take it. CNN takes clips of Joe Rogan and will play it and take him out of context or whatever, and he can't sue them for that.
Well, that's because it's a news organization. And because we're a news organization, we're allowed to show other news organizations.
Yes, we are a news organization. For the purposes of this argument, I'm going to say yes to that, but just know that I don't believe it. So, Jesse, would you consider us a news organization?
100% official.
Super.
All the way, yes.
That's all that matters. He was in the armed forces. I don't know if you know that, so his opinion means double. Perfect. Anyhow, good. I hope that certain groups keep coming out with good campaign videos, whatever you want to call it, where they're attacking the stuff that Republicans care about. Because if they just talk about, oh, he's not protecting transgender youths, and he's not being nice to the immigrants. Republicans don't care. That's not going to bring any of them to your side. Focus on what they're going to listen to. That's my ending message.
Yeah, and that's just only going to keep them away from the polls.
Yeah, and if they're disgusted so much that they don't show up and vote, that's fine with me.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So
discuss the Republicans.
Yes. All right, Jesse. Thank you for being here again. Do you have any parting words?
Just appreciate you guys having me. Love you both very, very much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love you too, and it is an honor to be on our show. So I'm glad you recognize how awesome it is to be with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse, stick around. We'll do a photo real quick after this.
All right,
everybody.
I'll see you guys soon.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you.